Hello and welcome back, and in this video we're going to be creating our task view model. So whenever we create our models and we want to expose the data inside the model to the views, we don't directly pass them around. Instead, we actually create view models around it. And the reason for view models to exist is so we can have properties that are related to the views that we need to show inside that view model, and then all the things that basically you have in the model are not directly exposed. So in future, if you are changing your underlying data structure, basically underlying data modeling technique, and moving on from core data to something else, or changing your model name or adding new attributes, your entire app doesn't break and you actually modularize your work this way. Okay, so basically it's a transformation layer or a pass-through layer that you create, but that pass-through layer has a property where it can basically control what view sees, and it can basically go and talk to the model itself, so the model is directly not exposed to the view. Okay. And also for the security reasons, many of the apps, or pretty much all the apps, actually try to hide the underlying data models. So whenever there is a SQL injection or something related, basically attack happens on the apps side, then your entire data is not exposed because you have a layer that can include all the security checks, and that layer is view model. Okay, with that little definition of view model and why we need it, let's go ahead and create our file basically for task view model. Okay, so we're going to select a Swift file and we're going to name this task view model. Okay, and this file is going to be created under view models. Okay, and foundation import is fine. We're going to need only foundation types, nothing else, and we're going to create a struct. Okay, now this struct is going to be called task view model. And you can basically create a class or a struct view model. The view model that directly represents a data model usually is created with a struct, but a view model that is actually exposed in a list or something similar iterative, then you actually create it as a class or struct. It's up to you. The initialization looks a little bit different, but if you're using combine, you will have to use a class for view model. The reason is that combine uses observable object in order to be able to publish some of the publisher events, and those event streams cannot go out in the struct. They have to be a reference type that can actually conform to those types, not a value type. And struct is the value type, class is your reference type. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and create a private variable called task. Now this task is going to be passed into the task view model when this view model is created. So we want to actually create that initializer right there, and then we're gonna start exposing properties that we want to expose to our view. Okay, first one is going to be ID, which is going to be UUID type, and we're gonna say in this case just pass on the ID, or if ID doesn't exist, then put UUID, a default UID. Well, this is needed because whenever the core data creates this model, its model properties are optional types. Okay, even though they can have data, still they are created as optional type, and this basically nil coalescing helps us get away from that optional type. Although this code should never execute, still it is needed, so we can resort to, instead of force unwrapping, we just unwrap using nil coalescing. Next one is name, which is a string type, and we're gonna return task.name here. Again, nil coalescing is going to be an empty string. Then we have due on, and this is going to be a date type. And as a nil coalescing, we're going to pass today's date. Completed on, which is going to be a date type once again. Task dot completed on. If not, then just initialize a default date, and then you have completed, which is a Boolean type. Now Boolean type is non-optional. Basically it returns whether true or false. When the value is basically nil, then it is returned false by default, so we don't need a nil coalescing for that one. All right. Okay, with that, our task view model is ready to be used. And next up, we're going to create a task list view model, which is going to basically help us use this task view model. And task list view model is going to be used inside the table view controller over the collection, which is going to show the list of all tasks. And each row is going to be of type task view model. So you will see that our task is not going to be exposed outside of this view model. Next file is going to deal just with the task view model. Okay, so in the next video, we're going to create our task list view model. So I'll see you guys there. Thank you.